All right. How you doing? I'm going to replace the strips, the plastic strip on the FESTOOL rails here today. I've already started it. You have to peel off the original one. And here's the thing, I've replaced these 3 or 4 times. I've had them for a long time. All right, I've had these rails for probably 20 years. The problem is they always peel on the ends. They come off or they get loose and come apart. And it's a real hassle. So this is more of a record for me that I've done it and how I'm doing it, so that in the future when I complain about it and somebody tells me, well, you didn't do it right, you didn't clean the rails right or whatever, I could say, I'm doing it. I'm doing it right now. Show it to you. Okay, so you want to scrape off the goop as much as you can, and then it says acetone, but I'm using lacquer thinner here to clean out this channel. And you'll see here, it's pretty clean. There's nothing left on this channel here. I also noticed that there was a burr here on the edges, so it's aluminum. I mean, these things get dinged around in and out of the truck and whatnot. So I took a file, and I just knocked the burr off on the end there, just in case that's a problem, where the adhesion is lifted because there's a burr lifting up out of the area. So I'm still cleaning this right now, and again, lacquer thinner. Lacquer thinner is a lot stronger than acetone. I just want to get the rest of this muck off of here, and it's giving me a hard time getting it all off, I'll be honest with you. I hope you can hear me. I'm not using the mic. But that's the thing. I'm going to stop this and jump forward again in a moment here when I go to put the piece on. But I wanted to show you also that right now this is up here in the sun, hoping that that'll be easier to rip off of there. That's like a cloth backing that was on this piece of plastic here. And I'll explain to you how these work in a moment too with the rail saws. And I got a box of the strips up here that I'm keeping in the box, but they're in the sun, so they warm up a little bit, hoping that that makes the adhesion a little bit better. It is warm today. It's going to be in the 90s here today in LA. It probably already is. It's about 5 minutes after 11 on the 29th of August. That's why the bandana. Whenever you see the bandana, it's because it's so hot. I'm going to get sweat in my eyes. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Alright. It's pretty hot, this thing. It was up there on the... Just want to show you what I'm doing. It's probably cooled off already too much. Just walking over to turn on the camera. There's a burr here too that I got to file off. So there's still some muck on here. It's better to try to see if you could skim this off before you try using the chemical. I mean, this is, you know, get that stuff off of there as best you can, and then get to your lacquer thinner with a rag, get the rest of it off, and we'll continue. Alright, let's see if we can figure this out. I think this strip is long enough to do the 2 of these. There's a 9-footer too, so this is, I think this is 50 inches or 51 inches. I think this is like 38 inches. And I've got the 9-footer as well, which also needs to be replaced, but I don't have any more of this. I bought these quite a while ago. They've been sitting in the drawer. Also want to point out, this is perfectly clean. There's nothing left on here. Nothing. Nothing sticky. You can't see anything. You can't feel anything. It is perfectly 100% clean. Oh yeah, more than enough to do both of these. All right, we have to get another one at some point. So since we have enough, I'm going to go over and then trim it flush after I apply it. So I'm going right up. There's a rail here. I'm going right up to that rail, making sure it's exactly perfect as it's supposed to be. Actually laying it on and allowing the gravity, like when I push down on it, to push it forward so it's super tight along that edge there. Exactly where it needs to be. I don't mean to be so silly about this. It's just, it's frustrating because these things do not last. And it looks like good quality stuff. It's all the FESTOOL stuff. I even had, I bought this originally at Eagle Tools in Glendale there. Although when I bought this, they might have still been over in Eagle Rock. Alright. That's on there. Just run some pressure on that. Make sure that's on there. Should have a roller out for this. Let me get one. I think I have, or at least a block of wood or something. I think I have a laminate roller somewhere, which would make sense to do. Alright, here's the laminate roller. I'm locking this extrusion section up against the edge of the work surface here. I got the laminate roller out. I'm just going to apply some pressure. So I don't know any other better way to do this. If you know of a better way, please chime in the comments here. These ends that are the hardest part. They always just come off. And it could be that maybe you should keep, I've tried it already. I've done it every way. Like I said, I've done this before, and I've kept these trimmed back behind the aluminum, because I know what you're thinking. If it's right there on the edge and I'm pulling these in and out, it could catch on something. You're not wrong, but I've tried it all ways, and every single time it starts peeling on the ends there. It just doesn't last. So what you see here is that this hangs beyond the edge, and you're get the saw out, demonstrate. All right, I'm gonna chisel here. I was gonna trim this exactly to the edge, but I'll just put a little cut in this sucker just before, and maybe this is a tip. I mean, I've tried to do it before. So this is what I'm doing. I'm just trimming this here behind that edge a little bit, in hopes that, like, you know, it wouldn't catch on anything and pull off there. Alright, so both of the strips are on. There's enough left over for me to do either of these rails. This is the longer one. So I've got that. I'll have to get more of this eventually for the longer 9-foot rail. That's that. And this is the FESTOOL, not an aftermarket. Again, this is the package for that. You want to screenshot that or something. And it does show the instructions right on the back, exactly what I did. So FS guide rail FESTOOL number 49520. It's 5,000 millimeters long, made in Germany. That's the story. All right, now this is my original FESTOOL saw. I love these boxes. And the idea is this rides along here, and when you first do this on here, when you first put the new one on, when you plunge down with this, the saw too much stuff in the way. Because, you know, if I'm about to lose, my screw bag's about to fall on the floor here. Remember these old, this is how old I am. The original parachute bag. This is probably worth money to somebody. Yeah, I just want to do a video. I want to show you something. I don't want to have to clean up the whole shop every time I do something. That's how it works sometimes. So anyhow, you would lay this on your board, and then when you do this and run it, I'm going to go to the edge here. Well, I can't be on the track because I'll hit the piece I just put on. Basically, when you plunge this, it'll cut that exactly. So effectively what will happen is that it'll trim this off, this piece I just put on here, exactly to the blade. Perfect. So that when you put this on a piece of plywood, it's for sheet goods. I mean, I've used it on solid wood too, like when I had a long board that I needed to straight line easily first. I'll put that on a board sometimes if it's too squirrely, instead of trying to run it through the table saw with a straight edge. This is kind of easier. And this is the larger FESTOOL. It's the TS75 EQ. It's pretty old. But you can see the depth of plunge cut on this is pretty deep. Pretty deep for this saw. It's got all kinds of accessories in here. We don't need to go through all that right now. It does, in this box, I have these two rails here, which you could put in here in these two extrusions. One of the screws is missing. It must be in there somewhere. And then you can put the other rail next to it to effectively get 8 feet, or use the 9-foot section. Okay, so this has been great. The thing is there's a cord for that, which is right here. And you can hook it up to the FESTOOL dust extractor. It works fantastic. Very happy with it. Very happy with the sustainer system. Love it. But I've gone with the Makita 18-volt cordless. They've made the sustainer so it works with the FESTOOL system, and the Makita saw. Show you these in a second. The Makita saw, which actually there's 2 batteries on here I need to take off, also works with the FESTOOL rails. Exactly the same. So I'll trim these with this because I use this way more than I use the FESTOOL. Just a couple points of interest for you if you are interested. The way that these work, it's pretty cool. These clamps are really neat because you can slide the clamp into the extrusion. Now, I can clamp this to my sheet goods. If I have it on a table, I can clamp this to the plywood and the work surface, so this doesn't move at all. I use it a lot. These rubber strips on here, these are the originals. I gotta clean them. It's like a foam rubber. What this does is it provides just enough friction, so this has a tendency to not want to slide around. So you want to keep it clean though. Wipe that down with a damp rag once in a while to get the dust off of it. I'm sure I can replace these as well. I just never have. But the idea here is you got to make sure your plywood is clean of dust. So maybe wipe your plywood down with a damp rag or something first to get any dust off of it, especially if it's like a shop finished or a pre-finished plywood. If it's got a coat of finish on it already, when you start pushing your saw, this could move a little bit because it's too slick. And that's when those clamps come in real handy. I bought the FESTOOL system originally. Let me adjust this camera, because you might not have seen me at all there. I think felt like the camera was a little low. Originally, I bought this FESTOOL system. I was doing a project in Silver Lake, big multi-million-dollar house, and I had to do a bunch of stuff where I was using 3/4-inch plywood that had a walnut veneer. And I had to, one section of it was a fireplace, and it was a vaulted ceiling that went up a whole other level, and I was laying plywood out horizontally each piece of plywood had to be edge band, and it was a whole wall above this fireplace from the floor to the ceiling, and there was probably 4, 8, 12, 16 to 20 feet. I think it was 16 feet of plywood, basically, around there. And I had to map that wall out, and I had to put fairing strips basically on there that all got painted black, and I had to have about 1/8 of an inch gap between each sheet. And again, each sheet was wrapped on the edge with a veneer. But on one side, it had a wrap. It only went about 11 inches, as I recall. The return was about 11 inches to a wall. But they wanted all that grain to be cut such that the grain lined up at that 45-degree miter. And this was the only machine I could get that would do that. And thank God it existed at the time. I did the same thing in the kitchen. That was a crazy job. I have pictures of it on my Mike Z Design Facebook page, but they're in a folder. It has a bunch of other stuff in it. It was before I was really doing complete picture folders of things at that time. So, but you can see that if you want to. So it's great for that application. This prevents tear out, right? Because the saw will cut right up to that edge. And the saws are designed so when you tip them on a 45-degree, it adjusts exactly right so it still cuts on that same edge, and again, you get no tear out. So the FESTOOL system, these rails, these have been around for a long time, but as you know, I already mentioned earlier in this video, I've been using these since probably, it's been at least 20 years. 2004, 2005, I'm guessing, was probably when I got this system. And again, this saw works great. I prefer the cordless like anybody else would if you got common sense, because no cords, man. Tripping over cords while you're working is nonsense. It's setting up extension cords to run to your tools, plus the tool from the cord to the extension cord. Making sure you have really fat extension cords so you don't burn out the motors in your tools. All those things, they just disappear. It's no longer a concern. No more wrapping up cords at the end of the day and everything else. Faster setup time, faster breakdown time, and it works. And it was really cool. It's one of the reasons I went with Makita with the 18-volt cordless, was because I knew that I looked it up first before I even bought the new screw guns and everything else, and I knew that the Makita worked with the FESTOOL rails, and I already had these. If you have to buy these rails, whether they're FESTOOL or Makita or anything else, they're expensive. So why not use something that already interfaces perfectly with what you own? That's it. Today is August 29th, 2025. Want to make that point because we're going to see how long it takes for this to start peeling off here. That's what pisses me off the most. That's why I'm doing this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a great day. Be kind to one another. It's a Mike Z Design video today. Like, whoa. You don't see those very often anymore. I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye.